Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and today I want to talk about how India, China, Russia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates condemned Israel and its war on Gaza and the genocidal war that it is fighting in Gaza and the atrocities that it has committed on the civilians in a very systematic and very strong terms. But before I get into the details to actually share the language in which these countries have condemned Israel for its actions in the Middle East, and also lamented the decline of international law and diminished role of international institutions in building peace and protecting civilians. Please subscribe to Conversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. And if you seek or would like to support Conversations in some way, try and become a member of the channel. I mean, it's not exactly a great financial assistance, but it does motivate me that people are committing to support the channel. So it's very important. So please try and become a member. So what I'm talking about is the BRICS declaration in Kazan, which was signed by all the countries that were there. But I'm talking about these particular countries, which are not exactly the founding members, because I'm not talking as much Brazil, because Lula was not there. And South Africa doesn't need to be discussed. South Africa has expressed what it thinks about Israel by going to the International Court of Justice and filing a complaint that Israel is committing a genocide. And the International Court of Justice is currently reviewing that. It usually takes several years for ICJ to give its rulings. By that time, probably nearly everybody in Gaza will be dead. So while that case does matter in some way, it does not have an immediate effect. But however, this particular statement by BRICS does have a significant impact, because BRICS now represents about 50% of the 45% of the world's population. So nearly half the world was so clear in its condemnation of what Israel is doing in Gaza. So, and especially India, well, you never know. India can be quite hypocritical. It can join BRICS to make this commitment and then send weapons to Israel to go and kill more civilians in Gaza. So India is quite capable of doing something like that. They can sign up and condemn Israel in no uncertain terms on the BRICS resolution, and then go and vote against resolutions of the same kind at the United Nations. India has done that in the past. Jaishankar spoke so eloquently in Riyadh about the sufferings of the civilians in Gaza, and then at the United Nations, India abstained from condemning the occupation in the Middle East of West Bank and Gaza. But nevertheless, India was part of this signature. There is no shall we say, these things are negotiated very intensely, every line, every word. And so you can see that India now has a huge bureaucracy, very competent foreign service people from Dr. Jaishankar onward. So they have all read this final statement of the BRICS at Kazan, and they have signed on to it. So I just want everybody to know what these 5 countries that came together in Kazan, India, Russia, China, Iran, and United Arab Emirates. The reason why I'm pointing to United Arab Emirates is because now it is one of the 10 members, 9 or 10 members of BRICS, but it's also a member of the Abrahamic Accords. And therefore, for United Arab Emirates to sign this document is a very telling thing. You must also remember that India, the United Arab Emirates, Israel, and the United States are part of a quadrilateral arrangement called I2U2. So the 2 members of I2U2, who are now members of the BRICS, have also signed on to these condemnations. The Kazan statement is quite comprehensive and quite big. I forgot as to how many points and paragraphs they have, but it runs into over 46 pages. But from paragraph 28 till paragraph 35, So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 paragraphs are about the Middle East. There is no other issue that has been dealt with so much detail and with such strong language as the Middle East crisis. There are two major wars going on which are dividing the East and the West, but there's not much reference to the Ukrainian issue except one paragraph, I think it's in the 60th, where they are immediately after the Middle East, where they simply acknowledge that the countries have independently taken positions on the Ukraine-Russia issue. And so there's nothing much more that BRICS Kazan statement adds to it. But this is what India and its BRICS allies have condemned. And so I'm going to just share those paragraphs straight up. These are screenshots from the Kazan Declaration. So basically, it starts with number 28. We are deeply concerned over continued conflicts and instability in the Middle East and North Africa. Then number 29, we mourn the tragic loss of civilian lives in the recent period and express sympathy with all civilian victims and their families. So obviously, this includes the civilians that Hamas killed on October 7th in its horrible attacks on Israel, and of course, the 40,000 plus civilians that Israel has massacred in the last 1 year. And this also includes the 2,000 plus civilians who have died in Lebanon. We reiterate, and this is important because I'm highlighting this, in paragraph 30, we reiterate our grave concern at the deterioration of the situation and humanitarian crisis in the occupied Palestinian territory, which means West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. In particular, the unprecedented escalation of violence in the Gaza Strip and in West Bank as a result of the Israeli military offensive, which led to mass killing and injury of civilians, forced displacement, and widespread destruction of civilian infrastructure. I mean, they can't be much more clearer. They did not dodge. The name of Israel is there. They didn't, like the previous two paragraphs, where neither country nor Gaza nor any other place is mentioned with specificity. This particular paragraph is very, very clear. We stress the urgent need for an immediate, comprehensive, and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. And remember, guys, India has also signed up to it. India, the so-called ally of the United States, member of I2U2 with Israel, has signed up to this treaty. And that's, to me, that's a very significant development. We knew that China and Russia were from the very beginning of the war more sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, but India was trying to play on both sides. And now it is very clear where it's, I don't know whether its sympathies lie, but we know where its political positions are at the moment. And then it continues, that paragraph is very, very long. And so I'm highlighting another part of paragraph 30. We acknowledge the provisional measures of the International Court of Justice in the legal proceedings instituted by South Africa against Israel. We reaffirm our support for the state of Palestine's full membership in the United Nations, which the US is blocking. And there are many European countries which are supporting it. We reaffirm our support for the state of Palestine's full membership in the United Nations in the context of the unwavering commitment to the vision of the two-state solution based on international law, including relevant UN Security Council and UN General Assembly resolutions, and the Arab Peace Initiative that includes the establishment of a sovereign, independent, and viable state of Palestine in line with the internationally recognized borders of June 1967. Let me also tell you that if you go back and look at the declarations made by the Indian government's Ministry of External Affairs, this very same language is used, that India supports a sovereign, independent, and viable state of Palestine. So this is an important part. I'm suspecting that India had played a major role in actually providing the language for this, but countries like Brazil, South Africa, Russia, and China also have a very strong cadre of international relations scholars and international law experts. So there could be a collective effort. But the language is very familiar with what India had issued in the recent past. If I can find a tweet from the Minister of External Affairs, I will include this in the video as you are currently watching this.
We want to say that the heartbreaking loss of Civilian lives in the displacement camp in Rafah is a matter of deep concern for us. We have consistently called for protection of civilian population and respect for international humanitarian law in the ongoing conflict. We also note that the Israeli side has already accepted responsibility for it as a tragic incident and announced an investigation into the incident. Raza, on the question that these European countries have now come up and recognized Palestine as to how we look at it, let me tell you that India recognized Palestine way back in the 1980s. Um, um, so sorry, and our it has been a long-standing position that we support two-state solution, which entails the establishment of a sovereign, viable, and independent state of Palestine.
And then it goes on to say, and the 31 paragraph is all about Lebanon, but 32 is incredible. This is perhaps the most powerful statement that these countries could have made. We express our concern over the increasing incidence of terrorist attacks linked with ICT capabilities. In this regard, we condemn the premeditated terrorist act of detonating handheld communication devices in Beirut on 17 September 2024. Let me read it to you again. We, and this we means India, China, Russia, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Brazil, South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt, maybe Saudi Arabia, which is in or out, and of course, Iran. We, these countries that I just named, condemn the premeditated terrorist act of detonating handheld communication devices in Beirut on 17 September 2024, resulted in the loss of life and injury of dozens of civilians. We reiterate that these attacks constitute a great violation of international law. So basically, the attacks on the beepers, as well as the walkie-talkies of Hezbollah that Israel conducted, which has been seen by a lot of people as some brilliant spyware, James Bond stuff. But the BRICS, India included, are calling it a terrorist act. They're basically condemning the terrorist actions of Israel. Let this sink in. India and its BRICS allies are condemning Israel's terrorist actions on September 17, 2024. Not only that, Leon Panetta, the former director of the CIA, and I think he was also Barack Obama's chief of staff in the White House, which is a very, very important and powerful position. I consider the chief of staff as probably more powerful than any member of the president's cabinet. Even he clearly said that there's no other way to describe what Israel did that time. It was terrorism. And then it continues to talk about Israel's violation of Syria's sovereignty. And then in 35, they say we condemn the attack against diplomatic premises of the Islamic Republic of Iran in the Syrian capital of Damascus by Israel on April 1st, 2024. You must remember that one of the goals of Joe Biden from the very beginning was to prevent the war from escalation. He just wanted to quarantine and give Israel the complete freedom to kill the Palestinians till it was satisfied without interference from anybody else. So basically wanted to cordon off the rest of the world and then leave Israel in this little occupied territory so it can wreak revenge for the horrible attacks that Hamas initiated on October 7th. But it was Israel which has expanded it by attacking Iranian embassy in Syria and then proceeding to attack other places. Yes, Hezbollah joined the fray immediately on October 18th. So, but it is very, very interesting that the BRICS countries, they have used no such language in talking about Russia's attack on Ukraine. Obviously, Russia would have vetoed it. Russia is also the host. So in that sense, to me, this is quite a major development, especially because India is there, especially because United Arab Emirates is there, because these are two countries which have, moved away from their traditional foreign policies to become closer and closer to Israel. I think they get closer to Israel to basically seduce the United States. It's like saying you want to come close to some rich guy and then you help one of their relatives get a job or something so that the rich fellow can become your friend. So they're in trying to gain attention from the United States. Both India and United Arab Emirates have been getting closer and closer to Israel. UAE obviously not only signed the Abrahamic Accords, justified it, but also tried to promote it to other Arab countries. So because India and UAE are joining BRICS, in condemning Israel in such strong terms, I think this particular declaration of the Kazan Declaration of BRICS is so much more powerful and clear rejection of U.S. hegemony, U.S. interests, and U.S. allies. So now Israel and its genocide is supported by just a few Western countries. Even all European countries are not supportive of it. Their huge condemnation is basically United States and UK to Israel, India, and Germany, who are providing weapons. Most of the other European countries have moved forward to recognize the Palestinian state. And now even France is calling for an arms embargo against Israel. So as Israel continues its mayhem, mass murder, genocidal violence against the Palestinians, it continues to lose allies overseas. But I know this is not going to change. It's not going to bring back the thousands of children who have died. But at least it restores some faith in the international system, that there are some countries who are willing to speak truth in spite of the enormous power that the United States unleashes against anybody or any entity or any country that criticizes Israel. So for that reason, I wanted to just focus on these 7 paragraphs from the Kazan declaration of the BRICS, which was hosted by Russia. And clearly the presence of more than 30 countries there, so many more countries wanting to join the BRICS, clearly says that the United States policy to isolate Russia has failed. And so we are witnessing an era where the United States is not able to realize its foreign policy goals, but it continues to articulate a foreign policy which has absolute disregard for its own values and the rules and the norms that it has promoted and instituted in the last 75 years in the world. So anyway, so that's all I wanted to share with you on this issue. I did have a very interesting conversation with Dr. Jill Stein, who is one of the candidates for US presidency. She is the nominee of the Green Party, a third party in the United States. She has a significant following, especially in critical state. As you all know, in America, we elect the president in 6 or 7 states. The rest of us are irrelevant to the election process. But in those states that matter, the 7 states, the battleground states, she has significant support, especially in the Rust Belt, which is Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. I don't know how well she is doing in North Carolina, but the fact that Kamala Harris is afraid of her and has launched a series of attack ads against her, saying that any vote for Jill Stein is a vote for Donald Trump, especially in Michigan, clearly tells me that apparently she has sufficient enough support in the country to worry the Democrats, unfortunately. Full confession, I am a registered Democrat and I have always voted Democrat in my life. Maybe this time I may not vote at all for the presidential thing, but it doesn't really matter how I vote because I live in Delaware. So please go and watch that video too, because in that we also discuss the connection between Israeli violence in the Middle East and the state of democracy in the United States, how these two are connected. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Please don't forget to subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and share it with your social political network. Until next time, take care.